everyone, welcome to Biophilia. I hope this helps you with your studies to make it super cool and easy. If you appreciate the efforts put into each and every video, do like, share and subscribe to our channel Biophilia. As a good habit, Biophilia ensures that you have a brief look at the previous topics for the perfections in the next. So let's get revising. So for the perfection, let's brief out about the previous part of this chapter. So previous part of the chapter में हमने देखा था about minerals, then we saw about the definition about mineral nutrition. फिर हमने एक new type of growing plants देखा था, that was solution culture techniques. Then we had seen about in detail about hydroponics. और वे hydroponics के क्या significance है उसके साथ we completed a previous video. So if you want to see the details about these topics, so you can click on the video link in the description box. आप उसको डिटेल में समझ सकते हैं. You can go and revise these topics once again so that you can remember and recollect, so that it can help you for this new video. So can go and check out other videos on our channel as well. So let's get moving for the main topic for this video. So let's get going with the chapter. So in this video we will be starting with essential mineral elements. So हमने देखा है what are minerals, what are mineral nutritions. So let's see about how these mineral elements are going to be important for the plants. So 105 जो elements discover हुए थे, out of which more than 60 elements are going to be important for different types of plants. So importance या essentiality, how is it defined? So for that you say that if an element is essential for the plant, then it should be either involved in the structural elements, यानी it can be in the form of its body growth. जैसे बाहर की plant body में अगर involved है, so it is a structural role, or either in the other processes of the plant, that is physiological role. So if the element plays any sort of role in structural or physiological role, without which the plant cannot complete its life cycle, जिसके बिना वो जी नहीं सकता है, it cannot live its life cycle, then it is said to be a essential element for the plant. So this essential element का जो criteria decide किया गया था, that was proposed by two scientists, that was Ornan and Snott, which was in 1939, which they gave the essentiality criteria. So essentiality criteria क्या होते हैं, we are going to see in the next slide. So essentiality के लिए which elements are going to be essential for the plant is going to be selected by some criteria. So let's see these criteria one by one. So first criteria आता है that element should be absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary word important है because without this particular element it cannot support the normal growth and reproduction. That means उसकी life cycle अगर complete नहीं होती है without this particular element, that is if it does not produce seeds or if it does not complete the life cycle, that means that element is going to be the essential element. So first point आता है for criteria of essentiality, that is absolutely necessary for normal growth and reproduction. Second criteria आता है that the element should be directly involved. Directly involved in sense, if it is absent, there are going to be problems regarding metabolism of the plant. So metabolism में अगर वो directly involved है, that means either it should be a component of the structural or the functional molecule, then it is going to be considered as an essential element. Third criteria है that it should be specific and non-replaceable, यानी अगर इसकी डेफिशिएंसी है, सो उसका कोई सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं होना चाहिए. That element should be provided, then and then only the requirement is going to be fulfilled. That means it must be specific and non-replaceable. So that makes up the third criteria for the essential elements. Next criteria आता है that if the element is in absence or either it is in reduced quantities, then it can cause disorders. सो अगर उसकी कमी में या उसके रिड्यूस्ड क्वांटिटीज में if the plant is suffering from any sort of disorders, that means that it is going to be a essential element and it is important for the plant to have that element. Next criteria है that is if the disorders are seen in that plant. The disorders किस वजह से थे? Because of absence or reduced availability. So अगर disorders को cure करना है, if you want to remove that disorder from the plant, then only one method is that to correct it by its availability. यानी जो disorder है, you identify what element is causing the disorder, and when you supply that element to the plant, then the disorder is going to be corrected. So these were the 5 major criteria to identify the essential elements. So the 5 criteria that identify the essential elements, based on that 5 criteria हमें पता चले हैं that there are going to be 17 such elements which are categorized as essential elements for the plants. So these 17 elements are going to be as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, iron, boron, manganese, copper, zinc, molybdenum, chlorine and nickel. So these are going to be the 17 essential elements जो हम बहुत डिटेल में पढ़ते हैं for our level. So we are going to see that how these essential elements are going to be further classified. So that would be our next topic for this video. So these essential elements that we saw were 17 in number. So these 17 essential elements are going to be further classified in the basis of quantitative requirement, यानी उसकी कितनी quantity ज़रूरी है for the plant. So if the quantity is on the higher side, then you call them as the macronutrients. If they have a lesser quantity requirement, then they are called as micronutrients. Second basis होता है on the function that they serve for the plant. So if the essential element is serving as the structural element, or if it is involved in the energy related compounds, or if it is acting as an enzyme inhibitor or an activator, or if it is functioning as the osmotic pressure maintenance element. So based on the different types of function they produce, they are going to be classified under the essential elements. So let's see the one by one basis. So first we will start with the quantitative requirement basis, जहाँ पे हम macro and micronutrients को classify करेंगे. So now let's identify the macro and the micronutrients. So अगर macronutrients और micronutrients का classification basis देखें, so they are based on the quantity that they are present or required in. So if the quantities required by the plant are more, that means they are present in the detectable quantities, then they are classified under macronutrients. अगर उनकी quantities required कम है, that means they are found in small numbers or they are found in traces, then they are called as micronutrients. So macronutrients detectable quantities है, so what should be the concentration? So numerical values होती है about 10 millimole per kg of dry matter, जबकि micronutrients की होती है less than 10 millimole per kg of dry matter. So macronutrients जो होते हैं, since they are present in higher quantities, they are going to be the part of protoplasmic constituents. So protoplasm के अंदर whatever structures are present, they are going to be the essential part of those. So they are required in higher concentrations. जबकि जो micronutrients होते हैं, they are required in lesser quantities because they are required in functioning of enzymes. So enzymes की तरह जो काम करते हैं, they are around but micronutrients. So speaking about the quantities, so what happens if quantities increase? So अगर macronutrients की quantity slightly increase हो जाती है but they do not become toxic, उससे plant को ज़्यादा नुकसान नहीं होता है. But if the quantities of micronutrients are increased in slight excess, then they can be toxic for the plant. So it is very important that you keep a very close eye on the amounts of micronutrients क्योंकि उसकी वजह से toxicity हो सकती है and the plant can suffer a lot. So now here you should remember that which element is going to be the macronutrient or which is going to be the micronutrient. So for that you need to remember the examples of those. So example for the macronutrients are as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, magnesium and calcium. So these in total are going to be 9 out of 17 and remaining 8 are going to be the micronutrients that involve iron, zinc, manganese, boron, copper, molybdenum, chlorine and nickel. So to remember the difference, the magnesium जो होता है, it is going to be a macronutrient, whereas manganese is going to be a micronutrient. So जैसे confusions develop होते हैं, that is the high place when questions can be asked. So it becomes very important for you to remember the differences of macro and micronutrients. So अगर आपको ये याद करने हैं, so you can remember them with a single word, that is chipmunk. So cafe. So chip is going to be a word to remember the macronutrients. So chipmunk. So cafe. So अगर आपको ये word याद है, you can remember the macro and the micronutrients element. So अगर C है तो that is carbon, H for hydrogen, I is just for remembrance to make the word, then P is for phosphorus, M over here is going to be magnesium, तो वो आपको याद रखना है. Again O is for word formation. Then here you have N for nitrogen, K for potassium, S for sulfur, O for oxygen and Ca of the cafe is for calcium. और बचा हुआ Fe जो आता है, that is going to be starting your macronutrients. So cafe का Ca तक is going to be your macronutrients और उसके बाद that is starting from Fe it is going to be micronutrients. So अगर आपको क्वेश्चन ऐसे पूछा जाता है that find the odd man out with the options given to you, so with this particular you can identify and eliminate कि अगर वो macros के list में आते हैं and rest of them are going to be micronutrients. So with that elimination method you can remember the rest of the examples as well. So एक और एक criteria आता है that is beneficial elements. So beneficial elements are going to be the elements which are not required by all plants. हर कोई प्लांट उसे नहीं चाहता है, but if they are going to be present for that particular plant, then it can promote plant growth. So अगर वो नहीं है, then the plant is not going to suffer. But if they are provided, then it is going to be a special advantage for that particular plant. So these elements which are going to be a special advantage in the presence and not going to harm the plant in the absence, so that are going to be nothing but beneficial elements. So वो involve होते हैं that is cobalt, silicon, selenium and aluminium. So these are going to be the 4 beneficial elements जिसके absence में नुकसान नहीं है और presence में फायदा है. So with this you can remember beneficial elements, and one example can be given as cobalt is going to increase the intake of copper. So copper, that is a micronutrient. So the micronutrient के absorption के लिए cobalt is going to help. So this cobalt is going to be the beneficial element. So if it is present, then the copper absorption is going to be enhanced. So that was about macro, micro and the beneficial elements. Now let's move on the last criteria of classification of essential elements, that is on the basis of function. So function के basis पे first आता है that is structural elements. So structural elements, that means they need to be the components of biomolecules. So biomolecules में majorly there are four elements which come under this structural elements criteria, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, which are the components, for example like cellulose and other biomolecules. Or nitrogen की बात हो, then it is going to be the component for amino acids making a chain forming proteins and chlorophyll as well. Second आता है that is components of energy related compounds. So जो plant body है उसको energy supply करने के लिए you need some components or products, so that are going to be sufficed by these elements like magnesium and phosphorus. So magnesium is going to be the component of chlorophyll. So अगर chlorophyll है, then and then only the light energy is going to be converted into chemical energy. So in that case chlorophyll is important, और chlorophyll को बनाने के लिए magnesium is important. So that means it is going to be a essential element. Second is going to be phosphorus, which is going to be the component of ATP. So adenotriphosphate is going to be acting as an energy currency. So whenever energy is required, the ATP is going to be supplied, and for ATP production you need phosphorus. So again phosphorus is going to be the element important for the plant. Third आता है that is enzyme activators or inhibitors. So in the presence of these particular elements, the enzymes can be activated, otherwise they can be inhibited. So अगर enzyme activators or inhibitors की बात हो, so the first example you can remember that is of magnesium ions. So magnesium ions are going to act as activators. So activators for two enzymes, that is Rubisco and peptase. So Rubisco का full form होता है ribulose biphosphate carboxylase oxygenase. So this is going to be the enzyme which is going to be required for carbon fixation during the photosynthesis process. और एक enzyme होता है that is called as peptase, which has a full form as phosphoenol pyruvate carboxylase. So again these two enzymes are going to be functioning as carbon fixation enzymes during the photosynthesis process. Second enzyme activators inhibitors के लिए element आता है that is zinc ion. So zinc ion is going to act as activator for alcohol dehydrogenase. So there is an enzyme named as alcohol dehydrogenase which is going to be activated by the presence of zinc ions. Molybdenum जो एक micronutrient है, it is going to act as a activator for the enzyme nitrogenase. So nitrogenase का function होता है in the process of nitrogen metabolism. So nitrogen fixation है या nitrogen का utilization है, in that case nitrogenase is going to be an important enzyme, and to activate that enzyme the plant needs molybdenum. So again these are the essential elements without which the plant cannot complete its life cycle. So now you can understand that there are so many important parts of the life cycle, जैसे biomolecules हो गए, cellulose हो गया, cellulose के बिना तो cell wall नहीं बनेगी for the plant. So you can identify the importance of these essential elements without which plant cannot survive. फिर लास्ट एग्जाम्पल है अबाउट दिस, दैट इज manganese ion, which is going to be involved in photolysis of water. So photosynthesis के टाइम पे जो water split होता है to release oxygen, so that process of splitting water needs an enzyme which is activated by manganese ion. Last criteria is of maintaining osmotic potential. So for maintenance of this, you need the various types of elements like chlorine ion, potassium ion, nitrates and sulfates, which are going to maintain the osmotic potential. So osmotic potential agar maintained hai, then and then only water absorption is going to be smooth in function, and the cell turgidity is going to be perfect. So cell turgidity is also important for the stomata opening and closing. So based on that, you can relate how these elements are going to be very essential for the plants. फिर again potassium ion is also important, as I told you, for opening and closing of stomata, because it is going to be involved in cell turgidity. फिर phosphates आ गए, weak acids and their salts again are going to be important for the osmotic potential balance. So in that buffer activity के लिए you need these phosphates, weak acids and the salt, so that if the plant is suffering from the changes in pH, तो अगर soil बहुत ज़्यादा acidic है या बहुत ज़्यादा basic है, and if there are changes in the body, then these elements can manage a bit to maintain the changing pH. So with this we come to the end for the classification of the essential elements. With this we also complete the part of the chapter in this video. So now your work begins. My work is done to explain you about these topics. अब now you can rewind the video, आप उसको वापस play करके you can revise, you can read the chapter from your books, and you can make your short notes to remember all those little points that can be asked as a single questions. और ये इतने simple lines है that you need to remember, and you can surely get success with the right answers in the exam. So now your work begins to manage these topics, to revise again and again, so that you have a good grasp on this topics. So ये chapter जो है that is basically on the memory based, so you need to keep on revising about the small details of the chapter, and then you are going to master this chapter as well. So for now we are going to stop this video right here, but now you have to help me out by like, share and subscribe to our channel. Till the next time we meet, you have to keep smiling, keep studying hard, stay motivated until we meet in the next video. Thank you.